Long before the first wheel sighed against a stone road, when the wind still remembered the names of the mountains, there lived a goatherd named Solan. He was neither young nor old, but the kind of man whose face had been carved by weather rather than years. His only companions were 12 scruffy goats with bells like mismatched coins, and one great silver-bearded buck they called the mountain goat. This goat was no ordinary beast. His horns curled like frozen lightning, and his hooves left prints that never quite matched the rock around them. The elders in the valley whispered that he had been old when the first pine took root. Solan did not care for whispers. He cared that the mountain goat always found the sweetest grass, even in drought, even in winter's lie of starvation. One autumn evening, as the sun bled copper into the sky, the mountain goat stopped, halfway up a cliff Solan had never dared climb before. He turned his amber eye, one eye, the other the color of milk, and stamped once. The sound was not a hoof on rock, it was a key turning. Solan, who knew better than to argue with a goat, followed. They squeezed through a crack no wider than a thought. The world behind them vanished. No dust, no wind, no echo. Only the smell of wet stone and something else, something warm, like bread fresh from the coals, like the inside of a honeycomb. And then the crack opened. Solan stepped into a tunnel that was not dark. It glowed the color of slow sunlight through a jar of summer honey. The walls were smooth as old bone, and from every seam dripped a golden light that did not fall, but floated upward like slow rain in reverse. He touched the wall. His fingers came away sticky and sweet. He licked them. Time tasted like honey, not metaphor, not poetry, actual taste, thick on his tongue, cloying and bright, with a low note of something ancient and patient. He swallowed, and the afternoon he had just left became a memory already fading, like a dream after waking. He took another taste, and the years of his youth, the hard ones, the hungry ones, softened into something almost pleasant. The mountain goat bleated. It was a warning. But Solan was already lost. He walked deeper into the tunnel, and with each step, he tasted more. A stolen kiss as a boy, honeyed. His father's death, honeyed. The ache of a lonely winter, honeyed. The tunnel did not erase sorrow. It turned sorrow into sweetness, and sweetness into hunger, and hunger into more steps forward. He walked for what felt like hours, days, years. The goat's bell faded behind him. Finally, the tunnel ended in a chamber shaped like an overturned bell. At its center stood a single oak table, and on the table, a comb of honey so vast its cells were the size of teacups. Each cell held a different moment, a harvest, a birth, a laughter shared between strangers, a leaf turning red. Solan reached for the nearest cell. A voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere, from the honey light itself. Take one and you will live 100 years in an hour. Take 2 and you will forget your own name. Take 3 and you will become a bee in the hive of yesterday, buzzing forever in a single summer afternoon. Solan's hand hovered. He thought of his goats, the 12 scrawny bells. He thought of the mountain goat's one amber eye, the other milk white, and seeing something Solan could not. He thought of the valley above, the stream that froze in winter, the woman who sometimes traded cheese for rabbit skins, the stars that moved, whether you watched them or not. He lowered his hand. I want to go home, he said. The tunnel shuddered, the honey light dimmed, the walls began to weep, not gold now, but the clear thin taste of time unflavored, time without sweetness or bitterness, time that simply was. Solan ran. He ran until his lungs were knives, until his legs were questions without answers. The crack in the stone appeared, just as the light went out. He tumbled onto the mountainside under a half moon. The mountain goat stood beside him, chewing placidly. His bell said clink, not forever. Solan looked at his hands. They were the same hands. He looked at the sky. The stars had moved, but only the usual amount, perhaps an hour, perhaps 2. The goat stamped once, then turned and led the way down the familiar path, to the low stone hut, where a pot of water waited to boil, and 12 goats slept in a contented heap. Solan never told this story, not whole, not for many years, but sometimes, on a still evening, he would take a spoonful of honey from his own humble crock, close his eyes, and say nothing at all. And the mountain goat would look at him with both eyes, one amber, one milk, and blink very slowly, as if to say, you chose well. But the tunnel is still there. The tunnel is always there. Some say that on certain nights, when the wind holds its breath, you can smell honey coming from a certain cleft in the high rocks. And if you are very wise, or very foolish, you will walk the other way, because time tasted like honey is still time, and honey in the end is only sweetness borrowed from the bee. The bee remembers, the goat forgets nothing.